What's happening now across the Niagara frontier? News stories, old stories, stuff you know about and stuff you'd never believe. It's the Niagara Hub Soapbox with Craig Avery. So over a month ago you came here, we were talking about stuff, and you're going to go knocking on doors and ringing doorbells and talking to people. What's happening? Jim Szwedo, for mayor, is sitting right here once again at the Hub, and we want to hear what's going on. There's always something exciting, and I always know I don't have to talk too much when he
That's
comes.
true. That's true.
So,
and I'm going to fool you, because when I am elected, I'm going to give the shortest speech in history.
Yeah?
Okay, regardless of what you seem to think.
Okay, all right. That's
okay,
good.
so if I'm fortunate enough, I want people to know they will not be there that long.
All right, perfect.
Do you know what, Craig? It's funny, because a lot of people said, we can never get the candidates out to walk, and they don't want to do this, and they don't want to talk to the people because they don't want to listen. I'm having a ball. You know what this is? And I've told everybody that I've spoken to that the best part of the whole thing, win, lose, or draw, is going to be meeting the people. Because, I mean, you get to see that there are still a lot of concerned citizens in the city of Niagara Falls. I mean, a lot of times in my neighborhood and stuff like that, or when we're walking the streets doing these cleanups and stuff, you meet a lot of people that aren't best for the city of Niagara Falls, okay? And because we're cleaning up some of the bad areas in the city, what we're seeing sometimes are the people that are actually causing the problems. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's good to get out there and really talk to the taxpayers, the actual people that are holding the city together. You know, and we're getting a lot of input. And
are they informed enough to even know who you are when you walk up the driveway? Do you think do a lot of people recognize you, or do not people don't even know that there's a mayoral
No,
race?
do you know what? A lot of them do know. And I have to thank the Niagara Falls Reporter. Okay, because whereas in my neighborhood, because of the stuff we did with Niagara Street Business and some of the other organizations, people know me there. But as far as citywide, I have to thank Frank Parlato for allowing my views to be put into his paper, because a lot of people, and I mean, you can ask Paul and the people walking with me, do recognize me, and because of some of the opinions that I've shared with them. Mm-hmm. So the best thing is sharing their opinions again about what's going on in the city. A couple things I'm pleasantly surprised is that a lot of people do care about the city of Niagara Falls, not just the ones that are stuck here, some of the older retirees that really have no place to go, but people that really care about their neighborhoods, care about the city, but they just feel that there's no outlet for that. There's nowhere to go. They have no one that they can talk to that's actually going to do anything about what's happening in the city. So for me, this is absolutely the best part. I mean, we're meeting people from 96 years old all the way down, 16 and 70. People 17 years old saying, my birthday's not till December, I can't vote. And we're meeting Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and Conservatives. And like I'm telling everybody at the house, at their house when I talk to, what we're also finding is the dynamic. Because what you'll find is if the husband's Republican, the wife is Democrat. If the wife is Republican, the husband's Democrat, and the children could be independents. So it's great to see the way the dynamic is set up. And I assure every one of them, even if I'm there for one of their signatures, that please, you know what, everyone in this household signature is important, because we can't change anything without everybody on one page. So I'm coming back for the Democrat. I'm coming back for the Independent. I'm coming back for the Conservative. Please, I need everyone. Pleasantly surprised. In less than a week, we've accumulated over 500 signatures to make sure we stay on the ballot. We only needed less than 250. We've accumulated well over 500. And we're still out there every day. I was out last night. Matter of fact, I walked till 9 o'clock last night. It got dark, and I decided maybe it might be time to stop. But the good thing...
Sorry, the streetlights came on.
They did, yeah, they did. And a lot of times, like when you have political backing, like if you have the Republican Party or the Democratic Party behind you, your committeemen and your organization passes which makes the candidate very lazy.
Right.
Because what we're hearing on the ones that, so-and-so was here. Oh, they were here? No, they weren't here, but their people were here. Their guys, their men were here. What are you doing here? Well, I want to talk to you. Well, I'm sorry, but I signed the petition for someone else. I still want to talk to you.
You can still vote.
You still vote. I have no hard feelings about the fact that he beat me to this house and you're Republican and you felt that's nothing. But look, this is what I've done. This is what I did my whole life. And this is what I'm hoping to do for the city. And a lot of times they're very receptive on that. So we're getting a lot of good input from the people. The one thing that seems to be consistent and I don't know if you agree with me on this or not, Craig, but there's a lot of resentment for the current administration. Okay, I don't mean it from a negative point, like I'm doing it to blow my own horn or anything, but the fact that even on streets like we did Cube Island, about a week and a half ago, the administration chose to pave West River Shore. We cleaned up on West River Shore. Okay, and here's these people, you know what they're saying? It's too little, too late. Where was he all these years? This street was promised to be paved in the first year of his administration. That was one of the campaign promises, is why we signed that in the beginning. Now all of a sudden, this current administration is running from place to place to place to try and get things done this year, which is good because it shows me that they're worried. It may not be me. It may be Glenn Shalokin. You know, it possibly could be John Accardo. You know, it doesn't have to be Jim Szwedo, but it shows that they're concerned about the strength of their position more this year than they've ever been. And the good or the bad part is, it's not the big screw-ups. You know, we all know the big screw-ups. We know 72nd Street's a big screw-up. We know the problems with the water board's a big screw-up. We know all the big screw-ups. No city engineer. We can mention them and people hammer them. But it's the little things, Craig. When you think about it, if you lived on, you're a retiree. You like to walk your neighborhood. You know, you've been walking it for 40 years. You all of a sudden don't feel safe in your neighborhood. Okay? That means more to you than a new hotel.
Sure.
That means more the quality of life issues that haven't been addressed during this whole administration. And that's where we're going to concentrate on quality of life issues, because we have to bring Niagara Falls back to the people that actually live here, support it, and pay taxes, the businesses that have been here. So a lot of things these people are asking for, to me, it's foolish. I thought LaSalle was really holding their own. You know, I see the downtown, I see the real bad districts, I see Main Street just like you do, okay? I see these areas, and those are the areas that we seem to concentrate. I always thought, LaSalle's hanging on. You know, them people own their homes, you know, they're gonna take care of it. When I walked LaSalle, which we did this last week, I was totally amazed by the amount of boarded up houses, abandoned houses, and rental property. And a couple of things that we're hearing from people are like, so-and-so passed away, the house was sold, the bank sold it or somebody sold it, these people own it, they just rent to whoever they can get in here. It's all boarded up now because the last person when he moved out left with the furnace, the hot water tank, and 3 of the windows. Okay, so it's what I'm seeing in my neighborhoods, which, you know, the area that we're in charge of, like 19th Street, you know, certain areas of Niagara Street and different places in our corridor that we seem to happen frequently, I never thought existed in those parts of the city. So we're getting a dynamic of the city, but what bothers me is that over these last 7.5 or 8 years that he's been in office, and probably prior administrations, LaSalle has been not abandoned, but neglected. Okay, and the sidewalks, I actually believe I have better sidewalks in the Niagara Street district than they do in LaSalle. The streets on a lot of areas are pretty bad in LaSalle. I mean, there's so much patchwork there, just like we're seeing in the other parts of the city, so we know infrastructure needs repair. But even as much as trees and just, you know, things that could have easily been accomplished, I think now he'll run around the city and try and touch up what he can, but he should have been doing that all along, because it wouldn't have been insurmountable. And I think he could have been a hero to the city by just dealing with these small quality of life issues rather than the grand projects. You know, the train station, the police station, a big hotel here. If he would have just dealt with the problems that the city people face, I think he would be in a whole different position right now than he is. And I don't think he's going to have to try and work so hard. But the people are telling us that they're fed up with him. And this isn't just the Republicans. We're hearing it from the Democrats, that they're fed up with him. They're looking for someone new. A lot of them are supporting Glenn, okay, in the fact that it's at least a new face. You know, a lot of them are telling us that, you know, promises he's made to them, he hasn't kept. And I look at it like, the bad part is I look at the neglect. The good part is, these are not insurmountable problems.
No.
That's
funny how you mentioned, you know, and your mindset is, oh, LaSalle's good. It's always been good.
Yeah.
So unless you stop the car and look at the sidewalks and look at the, you don't see the blight because you're not looking, you're not thinking that it is blighted. It's LaSalle.
And
so it's funny that
it is, because
close as it is to us, we don't realize.
We don't. You know what? I drive through LaSalle. I'm going to a restaurant or I'm going here. We all do. And we think ourselves, it's holding its own. But when you're standing there and you're walking house to house and you're listening to these people talk about, I've tried to get this house demolished for 5 years. It's been abandoned. We've got nothing but problems with this house. We've got nothing but problems with that one. Look at the side, and here, the sidewalks, I mean, they're heaved, and someone has taken the time to maybe put some blacktop on. They're like bicycle ramps. The kids don't have to have a skate park.
Right.
They could fly on it. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I look at it and it's consistent. Now, Cayuga Island, it's a whole different ballgame. Cayuga Island is very much holding their own, okay? Cayuga Island, the people are they're upset because, believe it or not, they believe that they pay, and it's probably true, according to what I'm hearing, and when we looked up the figures, they're paying like 30% of the tax base in that area because their houses are beautiful, they're well kept. So they're paying the taxes for the areas that aren't. So, whereas their houses also hold value, so you can't compare that. But what they're more concerned about, some of them are concerned that the taxes keep going up on the island, but more of them are concerned that he does not include them in anything he decides to do on the island, which is not a good thing to do when you have people that are educated, you have people that have money, and have jobs. So just like with your property, would you like to know that they're going to put maybe directly across the street from your apartment building a 65-unit subsidized housing? You might want to know something about that before you invest, $500,000 in your apartments.
Sure.
So what we're hearing from them mostly is that he doesn't include us in his projects. The Jane Park project, the repaving, different things that he's doing there, being the fact that they're paying the most taxes, they should be included. So the thing that we want to do and the thing that we're fighting for is inclusion in the government of both the taxpayers in their areas. Years ago in the city, I like to compare the city years ago, and people say, Jim, you're always looking back at different things, but I'm not. I'm looking actually towards the future, where they say that maybe you're looking too far back and you look at things differently. I say I always look at it differently, but rather than being considered somebody that's looking at the old, I'm considering it looking at the future. What we used to have were distinct neighborhoods. Little Italy was Little Italy. I mean, it was an Italian neighborhood. My side on the east side we were mixed, but it was a lot of Poles on my side over there, and there was a lot of African Americans, or whatever you want to call them, but we all worked together. Okay? The Irish were here, different people were here, but they were communities. They all took pride in their communities. So what we need to do, and I'm finding walking all the streets, even in the bad neighborhoods, okay, is that the community, there are good people there, and they want to be included. Stuff like going on even here on Main Street, the little Park Place thing that the Benchman's got going on. What he finds is people want to be included. People stop if you have something there.
Sure.
And these people want their neighborhoods. So he's spending every last dime of the money that he can this year to try and patch the city enough to where he gets reelected. That has good and bad things. People are like, too little, too late, but I'm happy I got a new road. Okay. Yeah. On the other hand, whoever comes in is going to have a rough road. If every dime is spent, and if it's true that we have a $7.5 million deficit going into next year, the mayor's going to have a rough road. Even if it isn't him, whoever it is, he's compounded the problem.
Right.
So we have to be inventive in the things that we do. So my answer is to include the community, include businesses, because if you realize that you're going to be the beneficiary, rather than us giving it away to other people of what we're putting in, you're able to maybe put a little bit more into your neighborhood, into your business.
And how can you include? You can put notices in the paper, we're having a meeting, we're doing this, and then they don't show up, and then people complain. Well, they had an opportunity.
They had it. No,
or how can you make
sure
sure
we include it is by letting them know they're going to have a little bit of an input in the direction of their neighborhood. There are a lot of good people. There's a lot, we have some bad people in Niagara Falls. We have it everywhere. But there's a lot of good people that still take pride in their neighborhood. On Niagara Street, probably one of the roughest neighborhoods, I would say, in Niagara Falls. We never have a problem putting together groups of people to at least solve the problems in certain areas.
Sure.
So while that's on a very small basis, I want to include that. We used to have strong block clubs. We used to have strong business organizations, community-based organizations. They survived on volunteers, just like the SPCA. The SPCA survives on volunteers because those people care about what's going on. So I think we have to invest our money back into some of the money, and not a lot, but seed money, and back into these organizations that we've discontinued. We have to get the people together and say, look, we're willing to help you work with the community, because they're the people. We can get a lot more done with volunteers that are being funded a little bit, enough to keep them on the road, keep them going, working with our public works department, okay, then we can try to hire all these people to do this work. So what we need to do is to re-energize the community organizations. We need the block clubs to know that, once again, we are going to listen to them. We need them to know that on a limited basis, we're going to help support them, okay? And we're going to put money into the programs that they feel are necessary. We need to go back to the business organizations where we used to have 4 or 5 strong business organizations in the city. Main Street was there, Niagara Street was there. We had all these organizations. And then at one point, even new ones were being formed. You know, Pine Avenue had a strong. They had a lot of problems and it imploded, okay? But that probably was more a sign of the times, but it wasn't really... It was their fault, but it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
You know, it just happened. They were probably the strongest business organization we had. So either disagreement among the organization or just trying to do too much with too little.
So you want to get them reinstated and giving them some power, giving them some
juice,
input. As you say.
input into that. And we want the communities to have input into the direction of their communities again. Because what I feel, until we get the city, yeah, okay, I'll talk faster. Until we get the city reorganized, until we get the city back on its feet, we can't be reaching out. We need to do what we need to do to make this city what it once was, and maybe set it in a different direction that leads it in the right. So that's got to be done through the community, because without the community support, there's not one administration, there's not one government that we could ever have here that is going to be able to accomplish anything meaningful for the city. And we're going to continue in the spiral that we're in. So we need to include them in their future. We have to let them know that their voices are heard, and we have to direct the programs around the ideas of the individuals that are actually paying the taxes and supporting the city. You know, I can come in there and say, I got a grand plan. I'm going to reduce taxes. I'm going to drop all the city taxes. We're going to do, okay, how are you going to do that? Well, I'll think of that. Yeah, okay, yeah, no. But we're not. We're going to involve the community in all the decisions. You wouldn't feel as bad about paying your taxes if you knew that it was going back into the city, back into the neighborhood you're paying taxes. And that's what we have to do. We have to build Niagara Falls first and put the money, even as limited as it is, whatever we got, back into the city before we start financing and giving away other programs. So that's basically what I'm running on. That's basically, I want to put the money back into the city and into the grassroots organizations, because I can get a whole lot more done with 2 or 3 volunteers and a little bit of seed money than I can sending out a DPW truck with 7 workers.
Yeah.
And cost less.
And again, I like the concept of the block clubs and the business organizations, because they can then communicate. You can't talk to everybody. You can't cover yourself.
No, you can't.
From City Hall, a few key people in these different places, and they go out and find
wouldn't you like to know, like, I mean, even something as stupid as the garbage rollout, everybody was there screaming. Wouldn't you like to know that maybe they came to you and your organization because you represent X, Y, Z amount of people, and that, you know, your people are not going to be happy? Like, why didn't you see this coming?
Right.
Wouldn't you love to be part of that? And that's what we want to do. We want to include them back in, because they're the eyes and the ears. They're the people that tell us where the problems are. And, you know, again, we have to have a strong police force, because until we take the city back from whatever we have to do, if there's no quality of life, if you're afraid to come out of your house and come to your business, if you're afraid to walk that street, we all got problems.
Well, there's guys like you wandering around knocking on doors. That's why they're afraid.
At about 9 o'clock I stopped.
Now
You know, it was getting dark, and I was saying, you know what?
We've got to be open door policy for this guy. He wants to come and talk and make your voice be heard, and it's pretty cool. Good for you.
And the same thing at City Hall. If I was fortunate enough to be in there, there's not going to be any doors. We really need the input. We have to share.
Take all the doors off. That'd be fun.
I can probably sell them and get a few bucks.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, keep us posted as what's happening.
And we will. And we'll do whatever we can. And Stentz is going to actually come out on the road with me and listen to some of these people.
Yeah. There you go. That'd be fun.
That would be fun to actually
on the road.
Hear what's going on. I mean, because, like I said, I'm a little disappointed in what I see, but I'm energized by what I see, because there's still, you know, and I'm having a ball. In the end of this, when it's all over, no matter what, win, lose, or draw, the best part of this has been meeting these people. Because I see a lot of times when we're just doing cleanups or we're dragging crack baggies and garbage off the street, we say, nobody cares.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that do. And I'm meeting them.
All right.
So I'm having a ball.
Your Christmas card list is growing.
Oh, it's growing. It's growing. Paul says we might have to do a mailer just thanking people. We're not going to put anything on it except thank you for listening to them.